try not to say anything dumb.
Show that.
You can sit right there. No, you stay there. Okay. It's still loading. Okay. So, in the teacher drive, our when we meet here in PLC, our go-to is that PLC folder. So we're gonna double click in there. It looks a little different once you get into your first grade folder. So we'll go into your first grade folder and you'll see that everything from last year has kind of been archived into this 24-25 folder. So that way it's all clean and organized here. In the STEMscopes folder here is where you will find your PLC agenda along with all of these are the teacher guides, but you are going to get you're gonna get a hard copy of the spiral bound teacher guide for STEMscopes. So we did this just in case, but we are, Dr. Vella likes the Cadillac version of things. And so this year we are using, getting the new, upgraded, improved STEMscopes Cadillac version, which will include the teacher guide and also the student journal. So every student will have, that student journal. And some of the other things we'll still have to print. So our scope assessments will still print. Which is fine because most of the time we put that in Edge for you anyway and all of that. So we'll print that. Some of the other pieces, I think exit tickets, I'm not sure if that's part of the student journal, the exit ticket, so we may have to print exit tickets and any of the extras. So those explain things like the show what you know, the enrichment pieces, the intervention pieces, all of that like extra stuff will still print, but at least the main components, that teacher guide is going to be super helpful. You do have that in front of you here for the first scope. This is your teacher guide for the first scope. I'm not sure when it will all get delivered, so we at least have this done, and if we need to print copies of the second scope teacher guide, we'll do that too. Okay, so it's got all of the explorers in there, the accessing prior knowledge, things like that. So lots of good information. We're gonna dive into that in just a minute, but I just wanted to show you this. So the first grade PLC agenda also looks a little different. We created over the summer, we worked on an agenda that was kind of simplified. And so if you will just click the box next to your, let's see if everyone has access. Go ahead and try to click it. Let me make sure everybody's got in the first grade folder. I may have to update access, but I don't wanna, that'll be time consuming. I can click boxes. Is there anyone that can't click the box? You can't, okay. Yeah, okay. We're all here. I'll click your boxes.
Well, the name change messed up all my stuff.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm kind of.
I'm gonna have to re-invite you to everything with your new login. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I had to do the same thing with Celia too. When she went to Davila, I was like, okay, re-add to everything.
Or was it me only for y'all? Let me click it. Let me
Let you click it. Okay, so Stephanie is the only one who's here. I'm gonna have to redo the format, so to cross your names off, that's silly. Okay. I'm here, Susie's here, Sally's here. Okay. And then, so these are the people that I will always be in your PLC unless there's some kind of emergency. And then these are the, other people that may be here. So, Dr. Bella Yesenia Friday and Ashley Trevino are our Region 20 coaches. So last year, Pearl worked very closely with them when she was going through her training to be a coach. And this year, we're looking at some different coaching. So I'll jump into this. Oh, so for today, typically we'll assign team roles. But for today, I don't want anyone feeling bogged down by taking notes and doing those things. I just want you to really be focused on the math and the internalization process and the things that we're gonna do. So there are already lots of notes in here and links and things like that. But Pearl and Amy, if you guys if there are any notes that you feel like need to be added within the agenda, you guys can type in there. Okay. All right. Okay, so we had for a long time worked on our PLC process for years in the district, and especially at the primary. I think the primary was one of the first groups that really got that process down and kind of the way that the district had intended, and we had a whole PLC handbook, and then the pendulum swings, and so TEA has come up with these high leverage protocols and practices that focus on unit and module internalization. We call them scopes and STEMscopes. They're scopes. And then the lesson internalization, lesson rehearsal, and student work analysis. And so what we do in PLC has kind of shifted a little bit and more focusing on this. Okay, so part of what led us to all of this that's happening is that Angela and I attended with Dr. Bella the Effective Schools Framework training, and that when you have a campus that is comprehensive and needs improvement, then you attend this training, and it's been super beneficial. So what the overall idea behind Effective Schools Framework is that you have all these puzzle pieces, right, that fit together that make schools successful, but at the core of that is instruction. And so you can have high quality instructional materials, you can have great culture, you can have strong leadership, but if you don't have effective instruction, kids are not going to be successful, right? So one of the things that, and that was why we pulled Pearl into a coaching role, right? We know that we have 49 teachers that are out there teaching kids, and between me and Susie and Abigail and Celia, and all the other tasks that we have to accomplish, there's no way for us to coach everybody, right? And so and we have not been through the training on coaching teachers. But Pearl, so that's why we have Pearl and now Amy, because what we learned is that when you have somebody who can dedicate their entire day to helping teachers improve instruction, it makes a huge impact. And so through that Texas Instructional Leadership, that is what Pearl went through last year. She went through the part of it, the TIL acronyms, more acronyms. I do know what that one stands for. The part of the TIL process, there are several different components, and the one that Pearl did last year was observation and feedback. So observing teachers, giving feedback, working with teachers on instruction. And this year, what we're going through is called MIA. I may have that on another slide, but it's materials internalization and alignment. And so so really focusing on this process and internalizing our lessons, so. Okay, I always like to bring a t-test connection because, you know, besides what we're doing for kids and what's best for kids and the decisions we make to improve student success, it also very much impacts you as a professional and your growth as you work towards your goals for yourself. And so one of the biggest things for this particular process is that through the internalization process, we anticipate possible student misunderstandings and proactively develop teaching techniques to mitigate concerns. That's the big one. That's the one we know that that really is high leverage in this process, because you know, walking away from here, what are kids gonna struggle with and what are we gonna do when that happens? So even a brand new first year teacher has a plan for when, you know, students are struggling and they're not just fumbling through and like, I don't know what to do, we're gonna have to figure it out later, so. Okay, so what we're doing, I don't wanna say differently this year because we did this last year, but we're just reinforcing that this year and kind of going deeper into it this year. Last year we did use STEMscopes with Fidelity, but we have a new version of STEMscopes and there are far more resources, and so we are going to use a high quality instructional material, which is STEMscopes with Fidelity for Tier 1 instruction, right? And so Tier 2 and Tier 3 can look a little different as you work to meet the needs of your kids. But for Tier 1 instruction, we're going to use STEMscopes with Fidelity. And then we're also going to be having a more formal internalization process for math. Last year we kind of formalized that internalization process for Amplify, and Pearl and Celia did a really great job of facilitating all of that. And it was super hard at the beginning of the year, but we got really good at it by the end. And so we're gonna now, we didn't wanna have too much new in 1 year. We felt like it would be very overwhelming to do the same thing with math last year. And so we're starting the process this year. We created some protocols. So why STEMscopes, right? So this new version of STEMscopes, it is 100% TEKS aligned. That is not to say that it's the perfect curriculum. We know that. No curriculum is perfect. We can always find little gaps or things that we would say or do differently than what the curriculum suggests. And so that's why we also have to add our teacher magic, our teacher flair, add student engagement. Maybe our kids need more hands-on in a math class. They need more manipulatives or different manipulatives than the curriculum suggests, and that's okay. But the TEKS are 100% aligned. We also attended an Arby's training, so not like the fast food place, but RBIS. And that's the research-based instructional strategies. So there are 4 components, and there's Celia, our poster queen, made us a little poster, but I also added it here. So the research-based instructional strategies for math are different than ELAR. So in math, you have to have a balance of conceptual and procedural instruction. And so you're working through this deep conceptual, kids need to have this deep conceptual understanding before we're just throwing out number sentences to them, right? So we do concrete, right? Hands-on, acting out, lots of manipulative, representational. So now I can take these objects and maybe I'm gonna use them and I'm gonna make a picture. I can represent it in other ways with a picture. And then eventually, maybe I don't need the manipulatives at all, but we're like building it slowly, right? And so Celia created another poster, right? And one of the most important parts is you have to build the bridge in between, right? You can't just, here's some manipulatives, now let me take them away, and now you're gonna draw pictures. And now let me take that away, and now you're gonna write number sentences. you have to kind of use it all in conjunction and build it slowly. And so the goal with an HQIM is that that's how the curriculum is written. That's how it's designed. Is it perfect? Again, no. You might find some lessons where you're like, I think this one needs a little bit more hands-on before we jump to the representation. Or we're doing this concrete and then it jumped to a number sentence, but I need more pictures first. So we're gonna find those things, and that's why we do the internalization process, right? So that we can kind of identify where we need to make little tiny adjustments. But overall, you'll see that there is this progression of building from concrete to representational to abstract. And then you have the depth and rigor of key concepts. So when you're picking and pulling from random places, right? We read the T, get on TPT, type it in, and then there's some activities, but we don't know for sure that those activities are designed to go to the depth or level of rigor that the TEAC was designed for. And so the HQIM, they work in kind of closely with TEA, and so the expectation for the level of rigor is there. And so STEMscopes is written to be to the appropriate level of rigor. So we're not having to guess whether it's challenging enough or not. You have coherence of key concepts. So there's this progression, right? The order that STEMscopes is written in is intentional and purposeful so that each concept kind of builds on the next. Last year, the person that was helping us kind of shifted things around, and I know that we kind of struggled with that. We didn't really like, the order seemed a little bit off, and so we are following the order that STEMscopes suggests because it was written with a purpose. And then productive struggle. That is a fine line, right? We set those kids off on those explorers, and sometimes they really are struggling. Like productive struggle means this is hard and it's challenging my brain, but I'm making some progress. And if the teacher asks me the right question, I'm gonna have this aha moment. But then there's struggle that's like, I'm frustrated and overwhelmed and this is way too much. So we have to find that sweet spot, right? Where the kids are having to really engage their brains and struggle a little bit through it because that helps them, it helps it stick, right? When you do something hard and you accomplish it, you're like, oh, never gonna forget how to do that again. But when it's frustrating and overwhelming, that's too much. So we have to learn like when to rescue and when to let them keep trying. So, and then the other thing about using an HQIM is that you reduce the variability in instruction, right? So especially if we can get to that lesson rehearsal part, then you don't have different teachers interpreting it all in a different way and doing something completely different. So then you have equity for kids. So you can have a brand new teacher who's delivering, just knocking that lesson out of the park like a 20-year veteran. So, because we all practiced it together and they know what it should look like. There is now with this teacher guide, this kind of built-in support. So you have an idea of what the things are, what are the questions you should ask, what are the things you should say, and then what are some things kids might say, right? We can't predict everything kids might say, they always surprise us, but it also provides ideas for differentiation, and within the online part of STEMscopes, within the platform, there's more differentiation than we could possibly use. So, which is good. It's good to have lots more resources than you need than to have to be searching for something because I don't know what to do in my small group. So I've used all my resources. So, and then there's lots of real world application and within. And one of the things that we talked a lot about at Arby's is that not only should there be this concrete representational abstract progression, but also math should be learned in context. So kids need to know what am I doing with these, I've got these double-sided counters, right? Well, what do they represent? Are they red and yellow candies? What are they, right? There needs to be a story, there needs to be a reason, there needs to be context behind the math, so that kids kind of understand, why am I even learning this, right? Okay, and then the internalization process, I know that this is not news to you. You did this last year with Amplify and really saw the benefits of what the internalization process does. So we want to have a deeper understanding of content, alignment with intent of curriculum and goals and rigor. It improves our lesson delivery. We have differentiation and equity for kids, and we can plan all that differentiation through the internalization process. Time efficiency. I mean, if you're having to go out and search and pull from here, there, and everywhere to create a lesson, then that is so time consuming. And then you have to rehearse it for yourself to get ready to give it to kids. And so this is just a far more efficient use of time. It is time consuming up front, right? And going through that internalization process for each lesson, very time consuming, but this year in Amplify, it's gonna be so much easier for you because you've really internalized it. It's like riding a bike. You're gonna go back to the lesson and be like, oh yeah, this is what we did, and you have all the notes on it, all the things. So that's gonna be really beneficial to you this year. You just make little tweaks. And then of course, your professional growth. So not everybody views themselves as a math person, right? So really digging deep into the curriculum and learning the math is gonna make you grow as a professional. Okay, so, hello, how are you? Good. Okay, so how are we going to accomplish all this? Very similar to last year, but even better. I was talking about our Texas Instructional Leadership, and we are doing the MIA training, so our Materials, Internalization, and Alignment. So all this summer, all of our admin, and Celia and Pearl and Amy got to come to one of the days that she's gonna be participating in it as well. She's gonna give the other days of training coming up very soon. So we have support from Region 20. We have Yesenia Frade, who I was talking about earlier. She is coaching, she's actually coaching Dr. Vella to coach me, and then I coach Pearl and Amy and Celia, and then Susie and Abigail they're also participating in this, but it's not their official year for facilitating all of this because they might have to step in where Celia and Pearl and I are not, we're working on this, and so they're gonna step in and help out with some other things, but they'll be here as much as possible and participating in all of this as well. And then we are gonna kind of like last year when Pearl and Celia were introducing internalization with Amplify, there was a lot of modeling, facilitation, all of that, so you're getting lots of support through this process. We're not gonna say, okay, Brandy, you're the team lead, take it away. We're not gonna just throw it on you. So we are gonna do lots and lots and lots of coaching and modeling and facilitation. And then when Sabrina and Brandy feel like, you know what, I think we can take on a piece of it, we'll kind of a gradual release, right? Where we'll start handing little pieces off to y'all to lead. And then, this is not new, so you've done this process, the content is new, so it'll feel a little different, but you've done that internalization process with Amplify, and so you kind of know how that feels and what that looks like. The idea of looking, you know, at the assessment, connecting it to the lessons, all of that is still the same. So, but it is new. It is new content, and it's gonna feel different, and we're all learning this together. So we're gonna give each other lots of grace, and we're, you know, if you feel like it's not going well, please reach out. So just like last year at the beginning of the year when we introduced the Amplify internalization process, Celia and Pearl would offer like tutorial times, right? They would stay after school. If you want to internalize this lesson together, if you want to internalize something together, we'll stay after school, we'll be available during your conference times, things like that. So if you need more support for yourself, because, you know, 90 minutes once a week for math is not enough to internalize every single lesson. But if you want to internalize on, you know, on Wednesday during your conference, we will make ourselves available to do that with you. Okay. So we developed a very specific, so all the, oh, are you passing that out?
Yes.
Good deal.
Yes.
So all of our campus principals, APs, coaches, CCISs, we were all at this training together along with Dr. Bello, and every campus developed their own internalization protocol. So Pearl and Celia and Susie and I spent lots of hours. We developed a protocol, and then we were like, okay, now we need to practice it. So we sat down with the protocol, and we were with the STEMscopes materials, and we felt like, oh my gosh, we're jumping all over the place. We had to revise it, and then, okay, let's practice it. Let's do the internalization. No, we need to change this because we don't want it to be cumbersome. We wanted it to be something that would flow very naturally through the STEMscopes curriculum, so it didn't create frustration for you. So this is going to, the scope internalization, right, that's your big picture, your unit internalization. You're gonna identify what students will learn. It'll outline, we'll go through the assessment, right, how students will be assessed. We'll look at the high level arc of learning, that progression of the content kind of building on itself. And then you'll be able to see how each lesson, each part of the 5E lesson cycle, kind of how it all fits together before we dive really deep into the lesson. Because we need to know, like, what bigger purpose does this one lesson serve before I dive into that lesson and start picking it apart. Because you don't want to pick apart something and say, oh, this part doesn't seem like it works right. And so you're like, I'm gonna skip that one little thing, but then it was really important for the assessment. So we gotta see how it all fits together first. And that's what this protocol is gonna do for us. Okay, so in your teacher, this will typically be pre-work. So typically before you come on Thursdays to our math PLC, you are gonna read the scope introduction in your teacher guide. So your teacher guide is this big fat packet, okay, that we will have in print, spiral print, yay. I don't know when that's coming, but it's coming. Okay, so the scope introduction is the first page. You can see at the top it says scope introduction, add and subtract with intent, scope introduction. So I want you to read through this first page, and then the second page where it has little summaries of the explore activities. You're gonna read through that. So I'll give you 5-ish minutes to read through that scope introduction. And feel free to, underline, highlight, if you want to jot something down. But we'll dig into each section separately too, so if you wanna just give it a read over. This is kind of what you'll come with, just having like, I'm gonna read through it, just kind of take it all in, and then during our PLC time, you'll like dive into each section. So this is just the first read through.
There's highlighters in the box if you need, right there, and sticky notes if you want. Yes. Yeah, I didn't know if you want to highlight or anything. You can write on it, but you can highlight too. And sticky notes to make notes if you want.
Pearl did it.
We have
I thought
one,
I did because I put stuff on my keyboard.
Yeah, I
One
put
minute.
my
1 minute, okay. I did too. Thought for sure I did it. will hold up the number of fingers that represents how many more minutes you need. 2 minutes. Thank you. The next piece is your content support. So this is the second part of your pre-work that you'll come on Thursdays having already done. You'll read, this content support piece. This is not part of the teacher edition. So within STEMscopes, you will, we'll kind of navigate, we'll have another time where we go through the navigation of STEMscopes, so that we can make sure we know where all the hidden gems are. I found some really incredible resources for our EB students that has differentiation of content and language based on whether the student is a beginner, intermediate, or advanced in their language skills, and I was blown away. I just didn't know it was there. It's just, there's lots of hidden gems, and so we'll have a separate kind of all together go through all the pieces of STEMscopes so that we're super comfortable navigating, because it's not the most user friendly, but once you kind of figure out where everything is, it gets easier. But this content support, it's a lot of pages, but there's a lot of repeat in here. So the teaks were also in the teacher guide. There's some background knowledge here that was also in the teacher guide. And then the mathematical process standard. So just skim, right? We're just skimming through this document and kind of looking, just skimming and looking through lots of student exemplars in the back. So what the student work should look like, those kinds of things. So kind of skim through this document.
And then, just real quick, if I can interject, just so you know that if you have gotten onto Clever on STEMscopes, that's still our old format. That's not the
Right.
new. It will look different. We should be getting it really soon. And thanks to Dr. Bella, again, we got the Cadillac version.
Yes. Okay. Dr. Bella likes
I
nice
don't even
things.
know if this is. Yeah, it's still,
The demo account that I pushed out earlier, that one is the new one. Yes, but the one through Clever is still old. But you can find the demo account. I resent the link. Casey Warden is the one who got us a link to the new STEMscopes demo, so I re-forwarded it to y'all, so that way it's we see, like, it takes them to the old version.
We do have a new app. It's an A at the bottom.
Yeah. But the one that Casey sent still works.
Yes.
So we're happy. We can at least access it. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Well, I'm just impatient, I can't wait for
Okay. Is everyone okay? Ready? Okay. We're gonna go to the next piece and we'll go deep into sections of that content support, in a little bit. That was just, the first read, just a skim of that. Okay. Okay, so you'll notice on your internalization protocol, right? Step 1 is understanding the big picture, right? So this is the, the protocol that we're gonna follow, kind of our steps as we go through the process. Every time we do this, we are gonna use this protocol and kind of make sure that we're catching each part. Eventually, it's gonna be like muscle memory, right? And we're not gonna need to refer back to this all the time, but at first, when we're learning, we're gonna keep using this protocol and make sure we don't miss any piece of it. Okay, so in step 1, you'll see that it says that you're going to read the scope summary. So this is where we kind of go deep into the teacher guide. So the scope summary is just that little top section, right? And you're gonna read the vertical alignment. So just this top half of right here, just that. And as you're reading, you're gonna highlight, annotate, record your thoughts on the progression of the content. Keep in mind what we were saying before, that concrete, representational, abstract. Keep those things in mind, and the RBs, right? Do we have a balance of conceptual and procedural, right? Is there a balance? Things like that. Just kind of keep those things in mind. But really what we're looking to answer is why is this scope important, right? What are some of the future learning expectations that kids are gonna have that depend on this, right? And then you're gonna identify the background knowledge that kids should have. We know they don't always, right? So as you're reading through that background knowledge, I want you to think, based on your experience in first grade, what do you think the potential gaps students are gonna come to you with? What do you think those gaps might be? So that we can kind of get ahead of it before we start teaching these lessons, okay? 2 minutes maybe, 2, 3 minutes? Okay, turn and talk to the person next to you, about what you wrote down, about these questions. Why is this scope important? What are the future learning expectations, and what do you think the gaps are gonna be before we get started? Okay, so 1 minute, talk to your partner. Okay. So can somebody share why is this scope important? What's important about this scope?
We just said that it lays the foundation of them understanding like what happens with a number percentage so that when we get to word problems, you know, they're not still struggling with, well, what are the components of a number sentence and how do I solve that?
And I'm gonna lean on Desiree for this next part, who was a second grade math teacher last year. How does this impact what they're gonna learn in second grade?
So in second grade, they need to be able to add those 2-digit numbers. So in order to do that, they need to be able to know and be able to make, add and subtract within 10. So that kind of will lead them to understanding, and adding those different numbers.
And creating those groups of 10 that then carry over to the tens place and the place value and all of that. It just builds and builds and builds, right? So, what do we think? So somebody who has been a first grade teacher for a minute, what do you think, and what in your experience, what gaps are they gonna come with? What do you think they're gonna have misunderstandings about?
They don't have the authenticity to look at a number of manipulatives and go, that's 3, that's 4.
So they're still going 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Instead of, we want them to see 3, and then if we're adding more, they start 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Like that, yeah.
I also think, like a tool like the tens frame, depending on the teacher, I've noticed that they use the 10 frame differently.
Okay.
So like they don't always like fill up the top row first, or so just making sure that we're consistently using that 10 frame or the 5 frame 10 frame correctly.
Right. So a lot of times teachers, like if they're using red and yellow counters and they've got 3 yellow counters and 4 red, they'll put 3 on one row and 4 on the other, right? And so the way different teachers use the 10 frame could impact student misunderstandings. And so again, another plug for why are we doing this, right? So when we do this in kinder, I know that we really need to talk about how are we using that 10 frame, and are we filling in the top row all the way, even if that means I'm putting, 4 yellows and then a red at the end, and that's okay. You don't have to separate the colors. So
even like the kids just want to like make a pattern with it, so like they want to do like red, yellow, and it's like no, that's one of your parts. You have to have all the same colors. So just kind of training from the beginning could kind of help with that.
Okay.
So understanding, like, I didn't realize that pre-K did it where it says like they are verbally sharing like a problem, like I had 5 apples, I ate 2. Like, do they understand that when you are 2, that's gonna be going away, like we're separating that. So even that understanding of that, I didn't know that.
yes. Well, and Nadia can speak to that because she taught pre-K, and so yeah, they do joining and separating in pre-K and having and verbalizing. Yeah, that means we're taking away. So yeah, they do have a lot of potential background knowledge, right? There's a lot of opportunity for them to have really solid foundation in understanding the idea of joining and separating. So
I also think one-to-one correspondence is a struggle for some students.
yes, and Nadia see that too, right? They're like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like we start to show them like how to write the number sentence in different ways, and some kids really have a hard time with it not being, your part plus part, your whole, like on that right side. Like they really struggle with that. It's okay for it to be different because maybe they only see it that one way.
Yeah. Okay. we're gonna kind of dive deeper into the summaries of the explore activities. That is on, so this is the engage activities, but we're gonna, so the engage, right? The engage is how we're engaging kids' brains in the learning goals for this scope, right? So the engage would include your accessing prior knowledge, your foundation builder if needed, and then that hook piece. Those pieces are gonna be dependent on like what you said, what do we think the gaps are? What are kids gonna come in knowing and not knowing? That we're gonna make adjustments to these pieces, that accessing prior knowledge and foundation builder, based on our students. So we're not, we will talk about that. That's a little bit, that's a detail that we do need to talk about, like how do we do this well? Because sometimes that accessing prior knowledge and foundation builder, we do it because it's like we're following, and then it doesn't really get kids ready for the explore. And that's one of the things I know we talked about in first grade last year that we felt like Bluebonnet did really well, right? Was that kind of that engage piece, that like hook, that piece before we jump into the like difficult content. It kind of sets them up correctly. So we're gonna talk about this accessing prior knowledge piece in a separate kind of PLC, but we're gonna go right now to the explores, because the explores, this is the meat of the scope, right? The explore is the really the content of the lesson. We have 5 E's, but the explore is the most important part, right? That I should say the explore explain, right? That you cycle back and forth between. Most important part. So we're gonna look at each explore. So you're gonna read each explore summary, and the things you're gonna be looking for. You're gonna want to identify how the scope, so how you see that concrete representational abstract progression. So as you read through the summaries, note, are we seeing that I'm using hands-on manipulatives, I'm acting it out, I'm really like using that concrete materials to understand the math. And then there should be a progression of using the like pictorial representations with the manipulatives, right? So we're building that bridge, and then leading up to abstract, which is like your number sentence. So you're gonna look for that progression within, and again, you can highlight, annotate, kind of what you notice.
And just one more thing, referring back to what Donna said about the RVs, number 4, productive struggle. This is really where we dive into that productive struggle in the explorers. Yes.
ourselves, so, okay. I wanna start, yes, please.
Okay, so when we're doing like the concrete, the representational, and the abstract, a lot of times like I may do like concrete and then they write the numbers and it's with it. And then I do that until they're comfortable and then like I add the representational. But am I not doing it correctly? Like should I just be doing concrete and then we go, so I'm doing the abstract too soon? Is that
Yes.
my question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it really should, and so, it, right, it would be, I would love it if the people who write and design, STEMscopes
Did it that way.
had an Arby's representative
Right.
on their team, right?
Right.
But they probably don't.
Okay.
I think her name was Ashley, the person that came and did our Arby's training, like, she needs to be an advisor for math curriculum, because that's what we're gonna find, right? Through that internalization process, we're gonna find things like, hold on, are we introducing the abstract too soon? And the answer is gonna be, yeah, we are. And I'm really glad you saw that, because I saw the same thing and I agonized over it for a long time.
I was like, oh, I'm doing it wrong for next year.
So when we started this, when we were doing this for ourselves, it took us an entire 8-hour day to internalize a scope.
It was more like a 10-hour day.
It was like a 10, correct, because it was the Fridays off, right? So we worked a 10-hour day. We spent the entire 10-hour day internalizing the scope and going through all these same, like, well, what about this and what about that and what about that, and Arby said this, and all the things. And so, yes, we're gonna discover little things like that. So I'm glad you brought that
I
up.
think that is an excellent question for all the reasons that were just discussed, but like, as a person who, math is not my, best content area, having the RVs training really, I know you just said this, but like, it helped me look through the lens of, all right, looking critically, productively at STEMscopes with Pearl. We were looking at 2nd grade and we were able to pretty quickly see, you know what, this is too quick a progression, or this activity doesn't have, the conceptual understanding that we're looking for. And that for someone who, who needed that support and guidance in building a lesson or looking at a lesson and thinking how can I apply this and take into account my students' misconceptions, it was just really, I think it's a really good tool. So you're already on the right track.
Yes.
Well, because I was telling her that like a lot of times like I'll do concrete and abstract, like we'll build it, we'll write it in percents, but we shouldn't be doing it that way. So that was just like, I was making sure I was understanding.
Yes. Yeah.
And during our RV's training, our trainer told us, that the upper grades, that's some of the problems that they have to go back and do the conceptual part, right? Because they don't have those foundations and we're over here trying to get them to write equations. So she said, this is good all the way up because those kids have some gaps and those are the areas. If you don't have that strong foundation, like you just said, you're not gonna get the next part. It's the bridge to the representational to the abstract.
Right, and the more we help our kids have this really deep conceptual understanding of the concept of the math, of the concept, the skill, then when they need to have fluency and automaticity in 3rd grade and 4th grade, it won't be as much of a struggle because they'll really understand the math, right? Okay, so here's what I want you to talk to your partner about. I know you've had some conversation already, but I want you to identify where you see that concrete representational abstract progression and concerns, like Candy said, like, do you see, is there an area where, based on your knowledge of 1st grade content, 1st grade students, is there an area where you're like, maybe we need to really look at this particular explore, we're gonna need to spend a lot of time on this. It might impact our pacing. This concept's gonna be really difficult. Maybe we need to add in like acting it out or whatever. So talk to your partner about those things that you notice. So what do you notice? Which explorers do you think are gonna be the most challenging, right? Where do you, and that CRA progression.
And then, I dropped the CRA model poster in the first grade STEMscopes, so that you can look at it if you need some help with that, cause we're all learning together. The best thing that you could do for yourself is just really know what we're talking about, and if you need a visual, there it is.
Yes. There could be within, even just within one explorer, so you're not necessarily waiting until Explorer 5 to get to the abstract, but there should be a progression, and even within a lesson, it shouldn't go concrete abstract, right? There should be a progression, even if in Explore 1, we find that they are writing a number sentence, we have to decide like, is that appropriate yet? Is that too soon? Are we waiting until Explore 2? You know what I mean? So those are the decisions like that teacher flair, the teacher magic, we're gonna have to adjust those things. Right.
Representational and picture model.
Yeah, where my mind went, so I'm adding to explain to them the purpose of a number sentence.
Yeah.
Vocabulary a little bit that I
A lot. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just like getting from your like so like what I understand is like we have to start that's why they go along.
It just depends because that's what their question too. Like, it could be that you see concrete representation abstract like all in Explore 1, and then you're like, this is too fast. Like they should not, because an Explorer is kind of and so instead of jumping all the way to writing a number sentence in the first they have written a number sentence before, that's fast. Yes. Right. Well, it does. Like it fits. It fits. Ours fit. They all fit. Yes. I think you're right.
I talked to him
Yeah, we make it fit.
First grade has the tightest schedule, but we still did have some flex days for like testing and filter and those kind of things. But it still fits, but it's a tight schedule. There's no fluff. Learning how to use the math tools and all of that stuff. Okay. So tell me, where do you notice, let's talk about that progression. Where do you see concrete, representational, abstract?
In all of them,
Okay. Kind of in all of them, right? And so it doesn't necessarily mean that from Explore 1 to Explore 5, we're going concrete, then representational, then abstract. There's a little bit of all of it within every Explore, right? And the trick is that, so that what Crystal and Desiree were talking about, and I joined their conversation, and then Dr. Bella asked me the same question, is we have to make that decision about our kids as we're going through this Explore. In Explore 1, did they come knowing how to write a number sentence? Was that in the background knowledge when we read it?
It
No.
is a kinder teach. They do introduce it, but it's later in the year. So they don't come to us having a strong because it's later in the year.
Right.
yeah, there's.
But they write number sentences? in
They
it?
do. They have a number sentence later in the year in a scope.
Okay.
It's a T.
Okay. So it says, but they haven't mastered it
No.
by any means.
No.
It's more of like an
It's an exposure, right? They do a lot of concrete and drawings, lots and lots of concrete and drawings. There's exposure to numbers and identifying numbers and writing simple number sentences, but they have not mastered that skill in kindergarten. Okay, so, what concerns do we have about any of these scopes? The explorers. Which one's gonna be the hardest? Explore 2. Tell me why.
Because it's comparing and they have such a hard time wrapping their brain around what that is and what that looks like.
Yes. So one of the things, those how many more than, whew, they are gonna be on the struggle bus with that. And so are we. Because it is so hard when we get in the thick of it, right? And we're trying to model and use that. This is the time to not give up on the concrete. Because what Ashley said during Arby's training is that, and what we kind of had a conversation about, is that in the thick of it, that concrete and representational, that part of the instruction is way harder for teachers. It is so much more difficult to teach that way. It is way easier to just teach them how to do all the little number tricks that you learn, right? Like, how to count the dots on the number, right? You have little spots on the number. Did you guys learn that when you were kids? Like a 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And like all the tricks, right? That is way easier for adults to teach that. But it will not develop that solid understanding for kids. And so we really have to, what Ashley said was, when we're in those really difficult content areas like the comparing, spend the time with the concrete and representational. Spend the time, and if they need mastery of that, right? In order to understand, because how many more than, and then a lot of times we lean on keywords, which we should not do, right? Because kids see the word more and they think, what? Add. And when you have a how many more than, what are we doing? We're subtracting, right? But you also don't want to teach them that either. When you see how many more than, we always subtract. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's easy for us to teach that. It's really easy for adults. But it's not what's best for kids to learn those little trick phrases and things like that. Because then they're missing out on that deeper understanding of the content, right? Okay. So, Explore 2, put a big star by it. This may be one where we do have to spend extra time, and yes,
I was gonna say, could it be something too where we would use different types of manipulatives besides just the cues?
yes, exactly, right? We may need to have lots of different exposures to different tools and manipulatives and 10 frames and all the different ways we can think of so that kids can see it, right? Because that content, that one is, it's tricky all the way to 9th grade.
I use
Right?
all the
ones
the kids and we could, use them
Okay.
like.
Also, when we're doing the lesson internalization for that Explore, we can always refer to our TEACS resource. That clarification document has all those suggestions of what it should look like and what kind of manipulatives we can use. So we can definitely use that during lesson internalization.
Yes, and so
As a
when, I'm
resource.
glad you brought that up. So, like I said earlier, there is no way in one 90-minute Thursday PLC, we can internalize every one of these explores. We just don't have that amount of time. So some things you are gonna be internalizing on your own or in little small groups, right? I know you guys get together during conference and after school and you plan together, but in your little groups when you're internalizing, but here's the thing, when we wanna pick the most high leverage lessons, kind of like we did last year with Amplify, to internalize together. And so Explore 2 is one we wanna prioritize. We have to do Explore 2 together because that one's gonna be tricky, so.
Will we at least maybe talk about like, are we just gonna focus on concrete and then like concrete, like when, or is that just gonna be based off of your class? I guess is my question.
No, good question. So I think that when we get deep into the lessons and look at what is, because this is just a summary, so we know there's a little bit of all of it in each one. And so as we go through that particular lesson, we're gonna look at the concrete, the representational, the abstract. Does it flow nicely? Is there enough concrete within that Explore so that they can master that pictorial model, that representational model, and be ready for, even if they don't master the concrete, but are they ready to be, the abstract. Even if they don't master that abstract, are they ready to be exposed to it, right? And so a lot of times it'll just be, this is the abstract, and some of your kids are gonna be ready, right? We differentiate all the time. Some of your kids are gonna be like, oh yeah, I totally got that. And some you're gonna have in small group. So, yeah. Any other thoughts, questions about this section? Okay, great.
And just so you know, K.3C in Kinder, it's Unit 4 in STEMscopes, where they explain the strategies using to solve problems involving adding and subtracting within 10 using spoken words, concrete, and pictorial models, and number sentence.
Okay.
Just so you know that. Unit 4, or Scope
Okay.
4 is when they do it.
Okay. Okay, so, in your, we have the suggested scope calendar, so that was something that you should have in your packet. The suggested scope calendar. Okay. Okay, so we use this suggested scope calendar to create our pacing guide. So in the PLC drive, it links here, but you'll see in your PLC drive, you have a first grade domain and scope calendar. So all of your content for reading and math is here in this calendar. So in August, you can see, and we also have here out to the side kind of what is planned for each week for our PLC. So in this first week, which was in service, you'll see August 5th, scope 1 unit internalization, and August 5th, scope 1 lesson internalization. So we're gonna do the first Explore together. And then as you scroll up in this week here, so the first week, because we're not here on Monday and we're not spending a lot of time with Amplify during in-service, we're gonna steal our normal Thursday math on the 14th to do Amplified, so that, you guys have your unit 1 ready to go. And then in the second week, the 18th, the week of the 18th, PLC meets on the 21st, and you'll see down here, we're gonna do scope 1, lesson internalization. So, anyway, so you can see each thing. So I'm gonna zoom in.
Oh, we need to.
Here we go. So we have on each day, you can see we have our APK. So this is accessing prior knowledge, your foundation builder, and your hook. Okay, we'll talk more about that in detail later, what that's gonna look like. And then you're gonna start this SB is your skills basic. So when you go to Explore 1, it has a skills basic that's recommended. So your skills basic and your Explore 1. And then you have a second day for Explore 1. And then on the 21st is our skills basic and Explore 2. So you can kind of see we've mapped it out. This is another skills basic that has the part pull and skills basic rec and rec. So look through the scope here, and then your scope assessment. So this is a 2-week scope. This is the plan for the scope, okay? And what we wanna do is, let me jump back over real quick. So what days we're teaching each component and administering the assessment. So we have kind of planned that all out in advance. Now we planned this out a long time ago, before we even did the internalization. And so as we're looking at this, what concerns do you have about pacing? Any concerns at all?
Do we have flex days?
Yes.
Well,
No.
So, yes,
Oh,
sort of. It's a flex right here. So you have this review and practice. So that if, that's your extra, you have a buffer.
right before the, assessment, but
Right.
you can always probably move it if you need to, but it's
Right.
to review.
Yeah, and here's the idea, right? It is not best practice to teach and then review for a test and test. Does anybody know why?
Since you don't really know if they know it or if they just remember the review.
Yes.
You don't really know if they know it, or you just did a great test prep, right? So it is not, this is really like a buffer that possibly needs to go over here
Yes.
to expand Explore 2, right? Okay. So that after internalizing this and going through this and looking, I'm like, I already looked up at that and went, oh, Explore 2 is gonna need a little more. So, yeah. Any other concerns about the pacing so far?
Will we look at a skill basic before?
Yes.
Some skill basics are like, sometimes it took us the whole,
Yes.
the whole lesson.
Right. Right, and that's why, I think we get bogged down. We get bogged down in the APK, the foundation builder, and the skills basics, right? Those are supposed to be short, quick pieces to assess whether kids are ready for new learning, or I'm gonna teach you to use this little tool before we learn this thing. It's not supposed to take an entire day, and it does. It does, because we get caught up in doing those pieces exactly the way STEMscopes says to do them, and then it takes a lot of time. But remember, the important part of what's happening in this curriculum is in the Explore, that Explore explaining. That's the important piece. And so if we need to kind of tighten up how we do those other pieces that are drowning us.
And like Donna said, we went by the suggested scope, and there are suggested days that it says only a skill builder. Day 5 is 2 skill builders, the part whole.
Right.
And so that day, there's nothing but the skill builders. So
Yes.
we went by this, but like
Yes.
she said, we can adjust because we have that cushion of the day there.
And then,
kind of like a
yeah,
flex.
so some skill basics, right, like these two skill basics, they are learning how to use two tools. And I know we've had lots of, talk about the Rec and Rec, and, I don't think everybody has Rec and Recs, we don't have one per kid, so it's that's something we're gonna have to look at for if we're needing to use a different tool, if we wanna use, linking cubes.
Digital
and-
version?
There's a digital version, yes, that's a great, there's a great,
Yes.
on the STEMscopes platform, there's a digital version of the Rec and Rec,
So how long, like, just roughly, I know every skill basic is different, but like, when we're doing a skill basic and an explore, like, what should we aim for, like, time-wise
And that's
for
what
the
we're gonna
skill
talk,
basic?
when we
Okay.
get into the lesson internalization, we'll talk about like, what does your day look like? Because we don't have that separate math talks, number talks, time block, it's all gonna be wrapped in. So like here on the first one, the accessing prior knowledge should be less than 15 minutes. But we know, we go down a rabbit hole with that accessing prior knowledge, and then it takes 60 minutes. So we're gonna fix that.
Day 2, it has 45 to 60 minutes in whole group, but it has a skills basic and begin explore. So you're beginning the explore. But like Donna said, the chunk of it is during the explore. The skills basic, if we need to tweak it to, perfect, right, to get them ready for that explore, we'll change it. But it has it right before introducing it.
So yeah, in your suggested scope calendar, what you'll see is there's a warm-up time, right? So if you look at day 1, there's a warm-up time where you can use the daily numeracy, fact fluency, data science. But maybe that's the time when you do your skills basic also, right? So there's that. And okay, so look at day 2. This actually will help us a little bit better understand. So on the suggested scope calendar on day 2, right, you have this warm up, 5 to 10 minutes. These are your options for warm up. This is like your number talks time, right? And then it has whole group 45 to 60 minutes. Well, we know that in our math block, which is 60 minutes, that if we spend 10 minutes doing number talks, fluency, those kinds of things, then we really only have 45 minutes. We only have the 45 to 50 minutes here for the whole group. And so what we have to decide is this, how much time after we look at the Explore 1, like go deep into Explore 1, how much time is that gonna take? Can we also do the skills basic? Do they need the skills basic? For this one, yes, but sometimes the skills basic is something like using a tool that you're like, oh, I already introduced this tool, I don't need to do this skills basic. It's just, the skills basic is to prepare them to be ready for the lesson, and if they're already ready for the lesson, then we'll decide not to do the skills basic at all. Okay, and then you have small group instruction time. These are suggestions, not during math block, but for small group time, there are some different things that you can do, and it guides you to the platform. And we'll go through all that too later when we dig into the platform.
Suggestion time from STEMscopes or something?
Yes, this is all the suggestion times from STEMscopes. Yes, and so this is where,
Yeah.
so this is how we use this calendar to create our calendar. So you'll notice on day 2, day 1 is like that's where you do your, like it's your hook, right? Accessing prior knowledge, all of that. We'll come back to that and talk about what is the best use of our time with this piece. And then on day 2, you'll see it says in whole group, begin Explore 1. So I'm thinking, okay, that's gonna be, and then on day 3, it says continue Explore 1. So that's why that's what made us go, okay, Explore 1 is gonna take 2 days. So that's why we put 2 days on our calendar. And then day 4, we have, it says explore 2 on day 4, and doing the anchor chart, which is your explain, right, where you kind of create that anchor chart based on what they learned that day. And it doesn't have, like, that's just a 1-day explore. And in my mind, I'm like, comparing a 1-day explore, they're crazy. There's no way. But we also haven't really dug into the lesson yet. How deep are they going with the explore? Are we just using manipulatives? All those little things, right? So we'll have to, but my prediction is explore 2 is gonna need 2 days based on what I've looked at, what we've looked at here, so. Any other thoughts, questions?
Donna, on the
Okay.
bottom of that, sheet, can you show them? Just so you
Oh,
know,
yes.
we didn't put the names of the scopes or the units or amplify, it's all one shop now, all one stop shop, right? It has our amplify, but down at the bottom, the tab, the second one that says, domains, if you click on that, that will give you the names of the units, the
Oh.
scopes, right? It's just
Thank
a quick visual in case, you know, we get further in the year, what unit scope is. 3, it's addition and subtraction strategies. But in the calendar, we just put scope 3.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Just so you know for
space.
reference. Yeah, so
I
that's
really,
kind of like the table of contents.
I know I keep telling you this, but I really appreciate that this is
Yeah.
all in one place.
Yeah,
I
it
love
really is gonna help us stay, you know, we don't have to shop all over the place, it's all in one.
Yes.
Did y'all have access to it?
It must be right.
What's the matter? You can't see it?
I can't go on it.
Are you
Uh,
under your?
But it says work offline, so.
Oh, maybe
But
you're
I'm
just
on
not
it.
connected.
And I'm under my school one.
Okay, so, just very briefly, because we've had a lot of conversation. Now, this concludes, right, step 1, you're back on your protocol. Step 1, understanding the big picture. So I want you to tell the person next to you, how do you think doing this practice, understanding the big picture, just step 1, how will that help you plan more effective lessons and address student needs? 1 minute. You should have it. It's okay. And your dry, so it's yes, it's in there. Let me show you. There's in the primary. Yes.
So in first grade, and then that counting line pops right up. Yes. There's the agenda, and it's got the STEMscopes. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But then when you get to that unit, you can kind of like see like,
Okay, so what do we think, like, okay, how is this process, what we just did, gonna improve student outcomes? How's it gonna improve your instruction?
Knowing when I'm supposed to teach it and how many days is helpful, not having to just wait, oh, sorry.
Knowing what their background knowledge is coming in and where they need to be going out.
Yes.
Grade, so, and what you need to target on.
Mm-hmm.
I think identifying what's gonna be real rough for us, because when you're in the classroom and it just ends up being rough for you, it's kind of like, okay.
Yes. It's so.
I think it's tomorrow too.
Well, and here's the other thing that Ashley and I talked about is in that moment when that concrete is, it's so frustrating. Like they're not getting it, and you have to like really keep with that concrete and representational so that they understand, that they see the concept. When they get frustrated with that part, it's really easy to just go, you know what? Let me just show you with the numbers. And in our mind, like, it's so much, let me just show you. Because we also start to think like, they're not getting it. I'm running out of time. Like, we need to move on. I'm just gonna, you know what? We have to do the numbers now. Like, we're just gonna have to do it. Because, you know, like we get in that panic mode because we think like, they're not getting it. I like, SOS, like, let me just show you. Here, let me just show you with the numbers. And we have to, like, that's the moment where you have to go, okay, no, keep on. Like, keep on doing what we know is best practice. Make sure they get that concrete down solid. Like, act it out, stand up, do it. Like, really, you gotta pull out all the concrete tricks.
And then I was mentioning to Sabrina, because we're on adding and subtracting for a while, that if we hit that concrete really hard at the beginning, then once we get to the fourth scope, the problem solving, then we won't have to spend as much time with the concrete and we can move.
Yes.
Great
job, guys.
Test your brain, yes.
Oh my God. Yes. Good job, team. Yes. And so if we can't in Explore 1, we're like, they're not getting it and they don't get the number sentence, is it a tragedy? No, we have 4 scopes on adding and subtracting. And the more, you're right, the more we really make sure they have that concrete down and the representational, that then all of a sudden this abstract becomes easy and we will get there, the kids will get there. But if we just skip over, if we get in a panic mode and we just jump right over to the abstract, we're doomed.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
We want productive struggle, not struggle but struggle, right?
We do not want to put them on the struggle bus. Okay. All right. I think that now is a really good time to take a quick break. So if you need to use the restroom, get a drink, do all the things, and then we're going to jump into step 2. Oh, you're, no. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he keeps telling me this. That's so weird.
I'm just saying that I'm just aware that I
for you to share that, because I think that'll support me too. Cause that doesn't great. Yes, yes, that's what I've been, some of the stuff.
You're doing the same thing already.
I just adding some of the verbiage there.
Yeah, it shows you as an editor.
Well, you got off hours.
Let me resend it so it'll pop up in your email and you can just click on it.
Okay.
That was, I was having technology issues yesterday morning too.
It's been all day today.
My computer doesn't wanna find the internet or the Wi-Fi, of course. In the moment, I'm about to have my welcome back presentation. My computer's like, there's no Wi-Fi. Yes, there is. My phone has Wi-Fi.
Do you know if they changed out my projector?
It was on the work order list. I didn't witness it being done, so
I'll check.
yeah, check it right away and let me know because we had several that had to be. We didn't have any new projectors, but we took, like speech doesn't need projector.
Right.
So we took that projector and put it,
Okay,
yes.
I will check.
Miss Minier, are tests created in Edge for you, or do we have to go in and create the test?
Some of them potentially have been created last year, to kind of depending on.
Do they test in Edge for you? The
Oh.
first grade?
Yep. Well, in the beginning, right, because they're still kinder babies, right? They're still fine. They don't. The teacher will enter the data in Eduforia, but so they'll do it on paper. Also, because in the beginning, right, we're doing it's lots of concrete, lots of representational, and then, so there's a lot of, you may test in a small group, you know what I mean? It's kind of tricky, but they won't test on the computer at first in first grade in the beginning of the year, so.
Especially because some of them, like there's like a team for drawing and representing the picture and there's
Yes.
somebody for them.
And so then we just create kind of a way for you to enter the data, like whether they drew the picture correctly or they didn't. So on your end, it'll just be like correct or incorrect. So we can have the data, yeah.
Or like this,
Like the word key for your lesson.
in that lesson, and maybe exploring that.
Good idea. Thank you.
Oh, you're good. Make sure everybody in first grade.
That's what, I was checking that, Donna.
Oh, you
I
were?
just
Okay.
opened it,
Okay,
just to make sure in first grade.
in first grade, they all have access to the first grade folder. Like the first grade folder,
Yes.
they need, edit access for the agenda
Okay.
eventually.
Who couldn't cross who was it that didn't have access to crossing and then checking it off?
Several people.
You?
I
Okay,
didn't have
okay.
I think Crystal didn't either. I
Okay.
think several people
Oh,
didn't
and-
have
Okay.
edit access.
Sure.
But they do have, the classes were prescribed. Yeah. Yeah, and this, yeah, exactly, yeah, because my daughter got some of those.
It should be your contact. Yeah, so you're in there.
Yeah, I just gotta figure out why it's not working on here.
Nothing, exactly.
Wakes me up.
The walkers, like, psycho, like walkers. I won't choose them. Oh, I love scissors.
I don't know.
I just, the calendar, I just sent it as an email. so
Oh.
that- But I was able to see the driving calendar. Oh, okay, good. Good.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's my day of technology's not my friend.
No, I said, every recess, you get one bonus point on your test, and of course, one of them. So if I bring 100 recess, that means I get 100.
So I did have a question
Yes.
this week, I know it says procedures and that, like,
This is like a.
could we work on like that one-to-one correspondence that we know some students
Yes.
struggle with and like
Yes.
maybe even introducing.
Yes, so, okay, everyone's back, so I'm gonna get started. Good point. So that first week that says routines and procedures, that doesn't just mean, that's not like, how do, it is, but it's not just like, how do we walk to lunch? How do we go to PE? How do we go to specials? All the, not, and, you know, how do we get our materials in class? All, it is all those things, but it's also, how do we use our math manipulatives? Doing some of that, let's pre-assess, right, where we're at. Do we have one-to-one correspondence? Do we know, can we identify all of our numbers to 20, right, from kinder? All those little things, like, that's what you need to be spending your time doing, is kind of all that background knowledge check. And then that way, when we jump into Explore 1, we'll have a really good idea of like where we can predict, right, what they're gonna come, the gaps they're gonna come with, but like if we know, that's so
So we
much
could
better.
also like go over like how to use the 10th grade, maybe
Sure.
not having to teach that when you're
Yeah.
trying to teach the concept of the lesson. I think that would take some of the stress away.
There's some,
Yeah, are we
there's some
also
kinder
doing,
STEMscope
like,
lessons that are really good.
Like group, they'll work in group, or was it more like last year where they were sitting, or what is it?
Do you mean, oh, for the,
Yes.
for the Explore? Oh, we'll talk about that during lesson internalization.
But we can also, if we're expected to work in group, maybe doing that, what is working in group look like?
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
because there are gonna be times where, I mean, some things, lend themselves more to maybe because of whatever, it's gonna be a more challenging Explore, like Explore 2. You really wanna have all eyes on all the kids and see that they're manipulating the materials the way you want, and so you're gonna use the perimeter of your carpet, and you're gonna watch them, and you're gonna, you know, they may turn and work with the person next to them, right? But there's this like, control factor, right? When you have the kids at that perimeter and you can really see who's getting it and who's not. And then sometimes you'll have kids, and we've done this before too, like they're gonna go work in small groups. And so yes, teaching them how to work in small group, how do we work when we're at the carpet, all those things, yes, for sure. And then teaching them especially, how do we work in groups when the teacher is working with this group over here, because these are my, you know, like my struggling students, or I'm doing enrichment for my highest group, and how do we work in a group by ourselves when I can't run and ask my teacher every little thing?
Would
So,
is that during the Explore? You can do
it can be, yes. So some kids will find, like through when we're doing the lesson internalization, we might find that, especially I'm thinking Explore 2, we may find that as you do the Explore, there are kids who are gonna get it, and they're gonna be ready to go off and do that independent activity. Those independent workbooks, that's part of the Cadillac version, thank you, Dr. Bella. So they may go off and do their independent practice while you're still working with manipulatives with a small group, even during that Explore, right? So, yep. Okay. Oh, that's your last name, right? I have to reshare everything with you.
I'll do it right now.
Yes.
I already shared Crystal,
Okay,
first grade
Nadia.
folder.
Nadia.
Okay.
Okay, so step 2. Any other lingering questions about step 1? Okay. Okay, so we are, thank you, unfreeze. Okay, you are gonna go back to your content support and specifically look for the single sheet that says implications for instruction. I want okay. So in the content support, you will find, let me go here, okay. You'll find a specific, yes, a specific section here, misconceptions and obstacles, right, in the content support document. And then we printed just the implications for instruction because there's another document within STEMscopes called Content Unwrapped. So you have content support and content unwrapped. There is so much overlap between the two documents, and we felt like it was a huge waste of paper and ink to print both full documents. This is really the only piece out of that content unwrapped that you need that's not in here. And so we just selected this and printed just this piece of it. So you have the content support, shows you your misconceptions and obstacles, and then implications for instructions. And so read through those in more depth. I know you already skimmed the misconceptions, and we've talked about some that we think kids are gonna have. And then read these implications for instructions and kind of highlight, annotate, record your thoughts. And you're gonna be looking for what do students need to know and be able to do, and what are the content or common misconceptions. As you're looking for that first question, what do students need to know and be able to do, you can also refer back to these student models. That'll kind of give you, especially if this is your first year in first grade, you may want to refer back to these pages for, what do students need to know and be able to do. So, 3 or 4 minutes. It took me 8 hours, so, like, how much time do we really need? We'll get it done. that you noted in the document that we didn't already talk about? Anything that was
Just
different?
making the connection to the addition subtraction symbol. So are they meaning that we can do that when we're doing the concrete or only when we get to the abstract? That was my question.
Are you referring
To
to
the second bullet.
the second bullet? Okay.
Yes.
Students may not understand that add-ins and sums can be on either side of the equal sign.
So that would be.
So, yeah, that's more when we get to the abstract, and when we talk about equality and what that looks like. Like if I have, you know, two kids on a teeter-totter, if they switch places, still equal, right? If they're balanced, it's still the same. They do, in kinder, they do balance and understanding equality, so it shouldn't be too much of a stretch to get them to see that equal sign as something that can be manipulated within the number sentence, so, yeah. Anything else that stood out in the obstacles? Oh. Okay, so anything about what they need to know and be able to do that you didn't notice before in the scope summaries? Anything stick out?
They are going to need to add more than 2 digits.
Yes. Yes. They have to, it says 2 or more add-ins. So, that is in, Explore 5 is the very last thing. So that's gonna get tricky, right? Okay. Anything else? Okay. I noticed that in the content support on the second page where it says current scope, it says students use objects and pictorial models to solve and represent word problems that involve joining, separating, and comparing within 10. So we are solving real world problems, right? Does it say they're solving with a number sentence? No. It says that they explain the strategies used to solve word problems using words, objects, pictorial models, and number sentences. So a number sentence is part of it, but we're not letting go of that, it's clear they are using the objects and the pictorial models to solve the problems. Writing the number sentence is part of it's another way to represent what they did with that word problem. And then also, we're not just doing 5 plus 3 equals 8, right? It's all in context and it's all word problems, right? So,
So I think we had a conversation about that, right, earlier, about that part. So that means like if they're doing a problem, like their explanation can be that number sentence, like if we don't have to verbalize that, or do we want them to verbalize?
all of it. They need to be able to do all of it.
Well, I think you would want them to explain.
No, we
the
did,
numbers.
I was just
go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, well, how do you have them explain it? I just wanted to
Oh,
make sure,
so
like,
like,
I was on the same
I would have my
page.
kids say, oh, I had 3 stars and I got 5 more stars, now I have 8 stars. That's all. Yeah, I would understand.
And kids are like, this is where like your outside the box thinkers are gonna shine, and they're gonna say some things you're like, oh, I didn't even think of that as an explanation, right? Or somebody's gonna jump right to the number sentence and they're gonna write because 5 plus 3 equals 8. And so those are that's gonna happen, right? Okay. Next, so the next piece is to complete the end of scope assessment. What I did here was I pulled this first part is the skills practice assessment, right? But then I also, the next one, the technology enhanced questions, right? They may or may not do this on a computer, but we might wanna use, we're just gonna look at all the potential assessment questions that we might select to put all together for our scope assessment at the end. So we have both sets, and then that's it, those two things for this time. So you're gonna complete from the perspective of a student, and as you're completing the problem, I want you to think about on, like, for example, on the first one, which one's blue? The one on the left is blue. The one on the left is blue. Oh, you can, it's up here. Thank you. Thank you, Pearl. We are not gonna spend $8,000 a month on color, by golly. So, now on this, we would print in color. We will print this stuff in color, but if it doesn't require it, we are gonna print in black and white. Okay, so for each question, like as I read number 1, write a number sentence to find the total number of blue and red clouds. Whew, okay. So I want you to think about from the perspective of a student. Also think about this. My brain is like, we haven't even taught them anything yet, but I've got 5 explorers. By the end of 5 explorers, this should be doable, right? We should be okay with the abstract by the end of 5 explorers. So, from the perspective of a student, and then be thinking about for each question, how are they gonna mess it up? Like, what are they gonna do? What misconceptions are they gonna have? How are they gonna make a mistake? What's gonna cause a kid to get this question wrong, right? For each question. Okay. Now let's see. Let's start with 10 minutes and then we'll see how much longer we need if we need more time.
Just for this question 1?
No, all of it.
Oh,
So you're gonna take the whole test. All on your
How
own.
many questions?
Silent solo.
This is one page.
It's 2 pages. So you have your skills practice, that one, and then the second one that says technology enhanced questions. You're gonna do both of those.
And don't forget, you have your tools. You're actually physically going to take the test, not just look over it. So there should be pens, pencils, markers in there. So let me know if you
Take
need
the test like a
something.
kid.
Yeah.
Where are the manipulatives? Do we have them?
We have some right here.
Oh, good, okay. Let's bring that out.
Not the cups. Yeah.
Take the cups, and then can I get the cubes? These cubes, the little cubes? Mm-hmm. Okay. I just wanna put them on a. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna throw some cubes on the table.
2-minute warning.
That's okay, we can have
We
more
can
time.
add more time if you need it.
We'll just see where we're at in 2 minutes. How many more minutes do you need?
I completed this first page. I
Okay.
didn't do this one yet, but
Okay, perfect. 5 more minutes?
Yes.
this one here, are we reading them the questions in first grade, or are they expected?
We'll talk about it in a minute. That'll be a topic, right? Cause that's
I
one of
wasn't
the,
sure.
well, that's one of the concerns, is the vocabulary. first grade vocabulary. Can they read that?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you're okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, glad to. Yeah. At some point I was like, I don't wanna go too fast. Oh, I thought about that, just kicking it in and then. Yes, I like it. For sure. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this assessment. So, what mistakes, what concerns do we have on number 1?
Are we also talking about like formatting or?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
I would just think maybe a line where they would know where to write their number sentence, like just a straight line, so that they
Great.
have some sort of direction.
Mm-hmm.
They may miscount because the clouds are kind of, on like the red and the blue clouds are a little close together.
Right. Well, and we've taught them to use a 10 frame and different tools to organize.
Right.
So what could we do to overcome that obstacle?
I would
If
give
we're
them
labeled
a
them,
frame.
like 1, 2, 3,
What do you mean, label
Like-
what?
then
They
writing the number on the picture.
They could label, right? I saw some
I
of
did
you
that.
guys doing that, putting the number on the cloud to make sure that they don't get off in their count. What else could we do?
Put counters on there.
You could give them red and blue cubes, right? And so they can use the 10 frame, right, with their manipulatives if you wanted to. Good. What else could we do?
I think there's like, in the scope or how our days planned out, if you put some of those in the beginning of your little warm-up, just there has to be some in there that they have to count without a 10 frame or something.
Right, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
It's a label, like circle, like. these
Circle
are
the
blue,
red.
These are red, there's 5, like doing that.
I think that's a great point, because I don't remember in the lessons where there is a lot of like where they give the picture and they have to like generate the number sentence. A lot of times it was just the counters.
They're,
So I
yeah,
think
or
that
they're
that's perfect
creating
to
the
add that.
picture,
Right.
right?
So it's not like given to them, so I think that's a great
So
point.
maybe
Mhm.
teaching them when they're doing the picture to label, like these are, like if it's like colors, like these are blue, these are red. So teaching them how to label that picture when they're
Yeah.
drawing, so when they get presented with something like that, they're familiar with, you know.
Or maybe
And-
These are our.
I like
circle all the
format,
blues
like,
and then circle the red.
going
and then
over
have
all
them
these
put the
different
numbers at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Because they're not always gonna see it in a 10 frame.
Right.
So-
As a 10 frame.
Teaching them to kind of chunk it too, so like circle the blue. How many blue do we have? Write a number 5. Circle the red. How many red do we have? We have 3. right? So just kind of chunking it. So in the lessons, we want to make sure that we're providing that opportunity, because a lot of times in the explores, it has them drawing the picture to solve the problem, not given a picture, how would they solve the problem? So through a warm-up or some type of independent practice, we'll dig into the explores to make sure when we're doing our lesson internalizations, we'll look and make sure that they have an opportunity to kind of know what to do with a picture that they haven't created.
I think also it's important that when you're doing that, you're also telling them, because you're telling them like, circle the blue, how many do you have, right, circle? But some kids, they're gonna look at that poem and they're gonna think about, okay, my teacher said circle the blue, circle the red, and to stop and to write it down, right? But the question is also asking them the total number. So you don't forget to tell them, like, okay, now that you circled the blue and the red, how many do you have when you put them together? Because I can see kids saying, oh, well, my teacher said to do this and this, and then they're just gonna stop there. You know, but you need to make sure that when you're explaining that all the way through, that you're explaining it all the way through.
And it's important to like when you're doing like labeling things, because a lot of times they get lost with those numbers. What do we do with these numbers? So labeling, like for example, somebody had this, okay, Richard had 5 something, he had blah, 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 you know, it's important for them to know what those numbers represent within the problem. And then going the rest of the way through.
And then kind of the opposite of what Amy said, some of your higher kids might just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8's my answer, instead of 5 and 3.
Yes, they're gonna jump to the answer and not consider that they need to write the whole number sentence. Yeah.
Or they'll try to write an actual sentence instead of
Yes. Yes.
Why are you taking so long?
We're not writing a number sentence. Okay. What other concerns? Number 2, what mistakes are they gonna make?
Well, I didn't like that there wasn't a tool on there for them to
Okay.
use, so I don't know if like we would prompt them, hey, you can use any of your tools to help you solve this.
Right, back to what it said in the scope description, students use manipulatives and objects and pictorial models to solve these problems. So they're not directed to within the problem, so we have to make sure that students know, like when I have a word problem, I can grab my cubes, I can grab my rec and rec, I can use whatever objects, right, are available. So we need to practice them having, like kind of taking that initiative to know when I read something, I'm gonna think about all the tools I can use to solve this problem.
So like if a kiddo used a part whole map, and then they draw like their numbers on a part whole map, is that considered like abstract, or is that considered like representational?
It's representational.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So then that might be okay.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I think another thing, like as you're reading this to them, them listening and interpreting what it's asking versus like your high kids might see, okay, 8 and 6, 8 plus 6 equals 14, instead of listening, that's not what it's asking.
Right.
Because I know they'll see those 2 numbers, I'll just add them, sure.
Yes.
And it's not what it's asking.
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
think also the word 8, like, cause they're gonna be listening to you tell them this orally.
Right.
So she ate 6 of them.
And then it has the number 8.
Yeah.
And
it has
And it has the number 8.
We changed that
Yeah, I
because
remember
that
that.
was a misconception that happened one year when we did that problem. They're like, but you said 8 and 6, that
I
she
think we
ate that
said
many.
8.
Yeah,
Like
it was
8 and
confusing.
then the number 8, so then we changed
Oh,
the
okay.
number. But I don't know, like if we see that, we say 8, can we say, well, that means if they were eaten, I don't know, just so that they I don't know, first. We just have to say that.
I think also this lends itself to this isn't acting it out, right? We have 8. She has 8 marshmallows on her plate. Let's see everybody have 8 marshmallows on their plate, right? Those opportunities for when it's and then she ate 6 of them because she loves marshmallows. Marshmallows are yummy, so she ate 6 of those marshmallows, right? I think sometimes when we're reading out loud to kids, we
we're being really careful to like enunciate clearly, and then we don't read it in a natural tone. So she ate 6 of them, and then they hear 6 of them and said she ate 6 of them. You know what I mean? Like you hear that they have to be able to visualize, and that is not a natural skill for all kids, right? The kids that struggle with comprehension, that don't even have listening comprehension because they can't make the picture in their head, when you're reading out loud to them, that's gonna be, yeah, this lots of acting it out with this kind of thing. Any other things we think they're gonna struggle with on 2? What about 3? What do we have for 3?
I was thinking like more space for sure.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is
And
not.
even like, I don't know.
I think it should be a box, like.
We need to reformat for sure. Yes.
I guess my question was like, it's appropriate that if they wrote like 3 + 7 = 10 and 7 + 3 = 10,
That's what I was
that
gonna say.
would be
Yes.
okay to accept both, cause it is 2 different.
That's one of the things that it says they need to be able to understand is how the add-ins, the order of the add-ins. It doesn't matter, or if they wrote, if 10 first equals 7 + 3.
Right.
Totally fine, that's acceptable. Mhm.
And I think we have to point out that it's only yellow and green, so they can't write like a 3-term problem.
Right, it's just yellow and green. So we don't have, so far, we only have 2 add-ins. We don't have that 3rd add-in happening yet on this assessment.
And we need to be careful with the manipulatives that we give them, cause I was doing it and I was like, okay, which ones are green and which ones are yellow for me, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
So we need
maybe
to
just
be.
a red and yellow.
Like maybe
And
they
if you
have
don't
to
use
change
them,
that.
that's
what we would
If you don't wanna sort them out, just give them an expo and they can write Y and G. So they're not having to.
Oh, on the,
You
Or
don't have
maybe
to sort
change
them
it
out.
to red so they could use yellow
Right.
and red counters, we have a lot of.
Right.
we
that's
have
why
a lot of yellow and red counters, right? I think, yeah, we need to make sure that our tools are matching so that the students can use them appropriately. And so if we need to change the problem to be red and yellow, so that, because we have those red and yellow double counters, right? Or we have like a huge box of green, the little unit cubes, right? The centimeter cubes, then we just need to make sure that we're prepared for that, right? So that they can use their tools. Because what I put in front of you right now, these cubes, not as helpful when you have to have specific colors. Okay.
The word combinations, I feel like would be very.
The word combinations, yes, that is, we will have to be looking for where is that gonna come in? Is that something in the lesson? Is that gonna show up in an explore? Say that again? Fact families, right, that all the ways.
It's not in the terms to know,
FYI, so.
It's not in the terms to know, right? So it's one of those other academic, you
Yeah.
know, words that they need to know for the assessment, but it doesn't happen to be in the vocabulary list. I
But I think
think
when
that,
we're doing that cup activity with the red and yellow
We can
dots,
add that
you
in.
can add that in there in your verbiage.
mhm,
Right, cause I think it says just like, show
Ways to
different
make it, you could
Right.
say,
combinations.
what are some different combinations of 10
mhm.
that you created?
It looks like that's gonna come up in Explore 4, where we are composing 10 with 2 add-ins. And so we'll need to make sure, so that you might jot that in your summary here. This is where you need to make sure you're using the word combination, right? Because we're looking at all the ways to make 10.
So if we're looking at, it says combination, so it doesn't necessarily even mean like a number sentence, they can write
That's
the
what,
yellow 7.
cause I put
Yeah.
5
Right.
Y and a 5 G.
Yeah, cause they might not even
It
write
says
it.
draw a picture
Oh, it
to
says
show
draw
your.
Well, it
a
says-
picture, and I went straight to
And it doesn't
writing
even
the
say
numbers.
numbers.
Me too. But it
Uh-huh.
But it could be.
I think it would be nice if we had small little tin frames there, so then all they had to do was color
Or they could color it
in the
yellow.
different combinations.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
cause then it would be organized.
That's what, yeah, cause I put 5 Y, we can have them.
And it's
has
true,
to-
it's
it has-
just
because
picture,
it has-
right? It
But it
never
only
says.
has a space in there, so they want, yeah, it could be, they could write 7 yellow, 3.
Yeah.
But it
This is draw a picture to show your work.
Yes,
And
but
Yeah.
we went straight to number
This
six.
is a,
we went straight.
I went straight to
Number six.
yes, this one is drawing a picture. So can they create the pictorial model?
I like the idea of the 10 frame because if we don't give them some kind of structure, that's all gonna run together and we're not gonna understand.
Or we need like three separate
There are
boxes.
3 separate boxes or something where it can organize their work.
Well, and so then in the Explore 4, that's another thing, we need to make sure they are super proficient with that 10 frame and using that 10 frame and understanding when to use the 10 frame, like this whole, lots 10 frame
Do they have
action.
like what they're like some of the sample answers for the tip, like the way to answer that one?
In the answer key,
It has it in number sentences on the answer key.
What does it have as a picture? Does it have
Just,
just?
it just has like. Standby.
And that was another conversation we had with Ashley in the Arby's training is beware of looking at the answer key, right? Beware of looking at the answer key because, like it jumped right to a number sentence in the answer key.
Answers will vary though.
They did like all red.
Yeah, answers will vary, right?
Yeah, they did it all red. Then you should
I'm guessing-
have
I'm
other
guessing-
ones that are accepted.
I think giving them the three, like whether it's the boxes or the 10 frames, would help too, because when it says what are 3 different combinations, like adding that number 3 in there can confuse them too.
Yeah.
I think it seems like it needs to be part of
By number
their
six.
answers, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not, it's just how
Right.
many answers they need to have.
Like really, ideally, that number 3 should have been spelled. It, not written as a number.
Cause they're gonna see 3 and they're gonna see 4.
Right. Yes. Okay. Any concerns about 4?
I did.
Okay.
On the, where it says use counters, draw a picture and a number sentence.
Mhm.
So we'll have to physically go around and check if they use counters, or they have to do all 3 of those.
What did they put for the answer?
It has the 3 and 4 and then it has a number sentence.
So it'll have the picture, right, and then, but you're watching, right, you're watching how they solve, and remember, we've gone through 5 explores, so you may have kids who've mastered the abstract, and they have pulled away from using the manipulatives because they really do have mastery, and so you don't need to fret over that, that's okay, that's a natural progression.
Should we put a
So
line
you're
for
just
them
gonna
to
want
put the
picture
number
and
sentence?
answer, yes.
Yes. Number 5?
Oh, they're gonna add.
Oh, I did have one other question on the report.
Oh, okay.
So I know it's, like, we're showing the 3 items, 3 and 4, so there needs to be some separation. You can't just draw all the circles in a row, like, cause it's not
You
really
wanna show
showing
the
2
parts.
items, like, should they be showing the 2 items for the pictorial?
Well, some of mine
Some
will
of mine
draw
do,
like
some of mine
3
don't.
and
I
then they'll
think
put a
that
plus and
it,
a 4.
again, like it, every kid is different, and this'll come with training through the explorers, right? How do I show 3 gumballs, and then her friend gave her 4 more? How do I really show that? And so we'll have to, kind of like the clouds, right? Like we'll have to show them how to kind of create separation. They also could have crayons and kind of use different color. They can use different color counters, but you can, give them tools so that they can represent with a picture something like this.
I have mine like they do like dark circles and then open circles.
Right,
And
right.
that's helpful,
That's a good idea too, right?
just so you can see the difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 5. This is gonna be this is the one we agonize over. How many more candy hearts? So again, this is your Explore 2. We could spend an
another hour talking about this one problem, but we won't. We won't, because we know that they're gonna struggle with this. They're gonna add them all together. They might say 6 because that's what lines up. There's all kinds of mistakes that they're gonna make, right? So this is that Explore 2. We're gonna have to dive deep into Explore 2 and really make sure like we're mitigating those concerns on Explore 2. And then talking about those number sentences, because it's tricky. The how many more than type questions is mathematically subtraction, but sometimes kids don't subtract, they count up, right? So we are, yeah. So again, the goal here is for them to, like we've done, we get to the number sentence, but the goal with this particular scope in general, because we've got 3 more coming after this, right, for adding and subtracting, is for them to use manipulatives and objects and pictures to solve problems. The representation is a number sentence, right? Like we're explaining our thinking and representing this problem in a number sentence, but the key importance here, and would it be great if a kid could say 9 minus 3 and write that number sentence? Yes. But it is not an emergency if they can't yet.
On this problem, is it okay if we teach them the line, like to draw it?
To compare.
As a strategy for,
So that
oh
would be
yeah,
interesting.
and we'll get into the when we get into Explore 2, we'll get into what strategies are we gonna use. We'll look at the ones that STEMscopes suggests, but we know we're gonna need more than that for this particular skill.
So what are we gonna accept on number 5? Like, we're still gonna expect the number sentence, but if they don't get it, it's just, that's something we'll work towards, but for answering purposes, we still want the number sentence, right?
We do want the number sentence, and we're gonna collect data on who has the number. So, you know, when we do in Agifortio where you're entering what correct or incorrect, one of the pieces is gonna be the number sentence, because we need the data on who's mastered the number sentence and who hasn't. And then are we accepting an addition? Maybe if they write it as an addition number sentence, it's like a partial credit. Maybe the problem is worth 2 points, and they get 2 points if they write it as subtraction. They get 1 point if they write it as addition. That way you kind of know where they're at. Okay? Technology enhanced questions.
These were a lot easier than the actual test.
Right, multiple choice, right? Okay, so her aunt puts 3 more, Desiree has 5 plates, her aunt puts 3 more. Any concerns about this one?
That line, if we teach them that line, they might automatically go to doing it there. Like to compare.
That's true too, they may have misconceptions because they're lined up like it's a comparison instead of an addition. So the other thing that I'm thinking about is somewhere within this scope, it's really about comprehension of that word problem, right? What does this problem mean we're doing? Are we comparing? Are we joining? Are we separating? That is something that I hear like in pre-K and kinder a lot. They read and the only question is, what are we doing? Is this a joining problem or a separating problem? And then that's it. Like they don't even solve the problem. It's just knowing whether it's a joining problem or a separating problem. So that could be something, that could be a warm up, right? We just have word problems and we just say, is this joining or separating? And how do you know, right?
Well, and I teach my kids to, when they're drawing, to put them in groups of 5, just because it makes it easier, like when they're counting. So like we practice that when we're doing place value or addition, just to have some organization, so then hopefully when they see something like that, they won't automatically think compare.
Right, they won't automatically cross them off like they're comparing. Yeah. Okay.
My concern is then being able to see all the plates on their tiny Chromebook screens.
Oh, they're not gonna take this on the
Oh,
computer.
they're not, okay.
No,
I
we
think
will,
it's a little
we
weird,
will
I think.
recreate this
Okay.
on paper.
And I do think we need to worry about it make it fade very easily, like as we're making copies, so just be thinking.
Mhm.
You change it
Yeah.
to black and white on like the actual document, it should.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cause it does seem lighter.
yes, yeah. And we can create, I mean, like, we can make this picture better and bigger and all of that. We can handle all that formatting stuff to make it, so, cause we don't want the formatting of the test to be a barrier to kids being successful, like, that's ridiculous. Okay, what about Maureen has 7 apples, she feeds 4 to her horse? Oh, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's the best question on there.
I don't know, sometimes.
Everybody,
they wanna
that better be
fill in-
100%.
Well, sometimes because they see those blanks, they still wanna draw in them, and you're like,
They already gave you
they
the
already
picture.
gave it to you, so I think just practicing something like that.
Practicing the picture, right? Because they're creating the picture, but then do we ever give them a picture where something is already crossed off? No. So we're gonna have to, like, again, warm up questions where they, that'll have to be something, or that we do during small group time, like little mini lesson on practicing. Maybe you do a whole group during your small group time where kids practice with their pictures. Ducks. 2 ducks on the pond. More ducks fly in. Now there are 8.
But did we make that?
One of the lessons, I think one of them.
The missing
Oh,
add-in.
there's-
Yes.
Well, I know there's,
Yes.
but
It's as bad as comparing.
I am happy that there is a number sentence kind of there
yes,
for
cause
them.
some can figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Well, and that's the problem. Like, honestly, I would wanna take that out. Because kids are gonna jump to that and then not really, you want them to really understand that. That would be one, like, where I do a warm-up with them. This is the problem. What are we doing to solve this problem? What does that look like? Imagine, let's stand up, let's act it out. I need 2 ducks. Who are gonna be my 2 ducks? Right? And now more ducks fly in. Do I know how many? No. Okay, well, geez. But now I need 8 ducks. Get up. How many more people do I need? Let's count. We got 1, 2. Let's add another one, 3. And you know what I mean? Like, totally act this out. I would do this type of problem as a warm-up where they're acting it out. You really want them, it's all about that comprehension with this kind of problem. And because you're right, some kids are gonna look at that number sentence and they're gonna troubleshoot in the wrong kind of way. Like, if they're just troubleshooting, they're not really understanding, they're just troubleshooting, So, okay. 10
Forget
page.
we have those stuff manipulative.
Oh, yes.
So we can-
Yes.
Oh, and if you use Lucky Duckies as a randomizer, right? Do you guys? Then it fits. We can do lots of Lucky Ducky problems. Okay, 10 penguins. What do we got there? Some jump into the water. 7 left. How many jumped into the water? It's kind of the same. Only this is, it's a little different, right? So, where is this gonna come up? Is it 4? Fill in missing add-ins, yes. Yep. Fill in missing add-ins. So then, yeah, it's gonna be. Well, when we get to that Explorer, so this is another one, we're gonna have to make sure that this is addressed through the lesson, because it's the Explorer says, we're composing 10. It doesn't talk about, right, decomposing 10. So are we, are we covering this in this way, right? cause it says missing addend, it doesn't say anything about subtraction. And so even back to that other one where we're talking about some of them might take that subtraction problem, but they're counting on, so they're gonna turn it into addition sentence, right? How are we gonna, address that, right? And it doesn't, like, it'll depend on kind of what the goals are, whether or not we think they need to be able to write the subtraction problem, or is it appropriate for them to write it as an addition problem for now, right? And I'm thinking probably in this first scope, if they write that as like they're counting on and they're explaining their thinking with this addition sentence, I'm thinking that's okay. That's where like my brain is going right now, but we'll dive in also.
I think that's explored 4, I think,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Really missing add-in to complete a sum of 10.
Yes, but when you have a subtraction problem, it's not an addend anymore.
Oh, it is, right?
Mm-hmm. It's not called an addend anymore. Right. Yes, so little things that we have to make sure we're looking for. So, Explore 2 and Explore 4 are gonna be our, kind of our focus areas, right? It looks like we're gonna have to make sure with those missing addends and then that comparing, those are gonna be the most difficult. And then, anybody notice anything, that seems to be missing on this assessment?
The T.
No,
Oh, like
a skill, a content, something's missing.
Like, just to separate it?
The 3.
There's nothing that assesses whether kids can, add with more than 2 addends. And that's a whole Explore on there, where it says, it's Explore 5, compose 10 with more than 2 addends, and it's a teak,
Or
but it's
even
not being
showing-
assessed.
Even like showing like 10 equals like the number sentence written like a different way, like
Right.
that's not.
It's not assessed
It's all
either.
missing.
So when we build our assessment, we have things we wanna add. Because we need to know, right, we're not trying to make this overwhelming and difficult, but there are things we need to know, like, so maybe jot somewhere on here, like, the placement of the equal sign, right? Whether, if we say 10 equals 5 plus 5 or 3 plus 7, right, versus 7 plus 3 equals 10, because that was one of the skills that was explained in here, that was detailed in here that they needed to have. And then having more than 2 addends, they need to have 3 addends. So we need to find questions to add to that.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
On the old STEMscopes, the
Uh-huh.
cloud question
Yeah.
has the 3, but on the new one it doesn't.
Okay.
It has green box.
Oh yeah, 'cause there was green.
Oh yeah, they were green. Yeah, and I remember last year we were like, they're not ready, and so we took the green off. Yes. Very interesting.
And just so you know, Dr. Vella was able to contact some of the right people, and you do have the new app now. And
Oh,
you're clever.
yay!
Yay.
Yay! Okay, so we will every time we plan our Explorer, we're gonna pull this assessment back out and remind ourselves, like, okay, what is the goal for this Explorer? We're gonna have we'll be looking at the exit ticket, all of that stuff, for each Explorer. Let me see, I know it's almost 11. Okay. We could have talked about this as we debriefed through the assessment, so I'm gonna skip that. We reflected, knowing your destination. I mean, I think that this is, we addressed this, right? Like now we know by going through that assessment, like the things that are missing, the things that we need to make sure we're teaching, where we're gonna teach them, all of that. And then the last little section is making connections between the Explore activities and the scope assessments, which we kind of just did naturally through our conversation, looking at which Explore activities are connected to which assessment items, so we know where we're gonna make sure that we address those things. and how they build upon one another. We did look at that. Simple to complex, right? We kind of talked about all that. And then this is the last little piece I want to make sure we do address. So how are we going to ensure all students have access to grade level content? So this is something that we are going to need to talk about as we plan our lessons, so that when you have our James and Avery and our friends that really, I mean, you'll have kids, like you said, that don't have one-to-one correspondence. What are we gonna do for them? And that's gonna come because they have to have that exposure to grade level content. And at the same time, we have to create some gap filling there too for those kids that don't have the foundation. And so that'll be part of our planning process, and as we go through the lessons and as you start learning your kids, you'll start planning specifically for them. And we'll talk about what that's gonna look like, the differentiation process, and what things are available to you in STEMscopes. And then materials, we can talk about that. You guys have already kind of talked about what manipulatives you think are gonna be best, and if we are gonna use red and yellow counters and specific colors of cubes and things like that. But we'll do this every scope. We'll kind of go through, look at the materials, make sure we have what we need, and then sometimes STEMscopes requires really odd materials that we don't necessarily have, and it just is, like cumbersome, and sometimes the manipulatives that they suggest do not fit either our budget or whatever else it might be. And so we will come up with, how can we teach this using a different tool, using a different manipulative in a different way, so that it's reasonable. Okay, so I want you to talk, you don't have to jot it down, but I want you to think about how what we did using this internalization protocol for the scope is different than what we did last year, and how you think it's gonna help you with your instruction this year. Just turn and talk to your partner. Okay. What do y'all think about, how did this feel like as a process for our PLC? How did the protocol feel to you? Did it feel like it flowed well? Do you think there are tweaks we need to make to it? Do you feel like, how did this feel to you? Obviously, it is not gonna take this long every time.
Okay, yeah, that's my one.
No, obviously not. Because we started with a whole lot of background context, right? Like, why are we doing this? Why are we using STEMscopes? Why are we using the protocol? All those things. Talked a lot about the RBs. So this will not take 3 hours. Normally, it will just take our normal PLC time. And I did practice to make sure we could do it in 90 minutes. We can.
I mean, I think it's great because I felt like last year we spent so much time like just planning it out and never really like diving in. So I feel like we're able to dive in, so we have all that clarity that we need. So I think that's helpful.
Anybody else?
I think it kept us more structured and like on topic, and like I was telling Brandy, the way that the steps are, it seems like we're looking at the most important thing and then going down, because I know sometimes we get so set on materials and stuff, and then we didn't get to it. But like me not being a math person, this is like, I feel a lot better now.
Good.
It's kind of similar to the Amplify, so I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I like that we're looking at the assessment and where it lines up in the lessons, and not at the end like, oh no, we didn't teach it that way.
Yes. That always, I mean, like, we would always look at the assessment
But
first,
not like.
but then not really
Realize
making
it wasn't
the
in the lesson.
connection to the lesson, like, what explore is this gonna fall in, and that really, I saw last year with Celia and Pearl doing Amplify, I saw what a difference that made, that process of looking at the assessment and going, okay, where is this being taught? Okay, we need to make sure we do X, Y, Z during that lesson. So, anything else? Okay, so, I wanna just talk about kind of going forward. The next thing, you have Meet the Teacher tomorrow. I know you guys have lots of things to do. At some point, I don't know where it will fit for us to squeeze in time. I wanna talk about, so I'm just gonna, am I still recording?
Yes.
Can you turn it off?